Hello, hello.
All right, folks, we're here to talk about the Deka World Championship that just happened this past weekend in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Luke was there along with three of our athletes. They all did really well, but we'll have him tell you about that a little bit. So first off, and I didn't prepare any questions in advance, but I'm just going to ask things that I want to know. So, like, how many observers, spectators were there? Because this being the first one they held, I didn't know how many they'd get.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I wasn't there on Saturday for the Deca Fit event. So I'm sure there were a lot more people there for that. There was a good amount, the way they had it set up was cool because you could be, I mean, at times you're a couple feet away from the athletes, just separated by a Spartan, bird or whatever. So I guess, 50 to 75 people kind of in a crowd moving along the 10 different stations. And that was kind of funny because when I was doing the live videos, like I'd have to dig through some people and then be like, okay, they're going to the next station, try and shuffle over, dig through some people. So, but I mean, it was a really cool setup. And to watch like the elite Ryan Kent and Rylan, like I don't know if you saw that, the Deca Mile.
Didn't see that one. No, I was only watching the ones we did, or that, trio live.
Yeah, they were neck and neck the entire time. Like they separated from the group pretty early on. I think Rylan came out super hot and was like a couple seconds ahead of Kent, but the rest of the time they were literally like bumping shoulders. And then at the very end, Rylan passed Kent on the last run, 160 meters. So he made a move there, got in 2 burpees, and then Kent passed him on the burpees and beat him by 3 seconds.
That's awesome.
3 seconds. And of course, they both set world records for that.
Yeah. When it comes down to like events that are as short duration wise as that, you get good competition like that, where there's a bunch of people at the same or close to the same fitness level, and seconds are the difference.
Yeah.
So, that's crazy.
So, but that's what makes it cool because, I mean, Spartan races are great and everything, but as far as watching them, like, if you see whoever it is in first place by 5 minutes, which happens.
Yeah, it does happen.
Or even 2 minutes, or even 1 minute, really. It's like they would have to, I don't know, mess up an obstacle or maybe 2 obstacles. Otherwise, it's a guaranteed win. And you know that for however long they're in that lead for that race. So, and, people can't really crowd around and watch the same way you can at a Deca event for the entire thing. You can watch a couple obstacles and then they're gone and then they come back. Like, I'm not trying to diss on Spartan. Like, it is what it is because that's how it's set up.
Long course is just not spectator friendly. That's just the way it is.
That's why they're trying to do the Spartan Cross or whatever they're calling it now, so that people can actually watch. But either way, we don't have to get into all that. It was a cool event. And I think for the strong, I don't really like how they did. For the elite, everybody was able to set up their stuff, set up their bikes, and I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure, but I think they had assigned lanes. Yeah, it wasn't set up that way, but I'm pretty sure they were supposed to go to certain spots. But for age group, you couldn't preset anything. You couldn't preset an air bike, and it was like, it really threw me off because everybody just goes. Everybody's running for the closest ram to them, basically. And then, if you don't get the one you were going for, somebody gets there first, you have to go around stuff and try and get to the next one. And then there might be a judge standing there because they got to be so tight packed. So for the first 3 stations, it was just kind of a cluster of like chaos. And then after that, it kind of spread out a little bit. But
I imagine for that specific type of scenario where it's so crowded and you're also having to move around judges and try and get the equipment you want, if it's in a specific place that's closer to the next station, that coming out fast matters. Where like if you're just doing a normal Deca event, you have your own lane, you don't have to worry about anyone else, so you can pace yourself through those first several ones. And maybe it's better not to in like a championship like that where it's so crowded, but who knows? It's interesting though. I wouldn't have thought of the dynamic going into it. because I've
Yep.
not experienced it for Deka.
And that made a difference for the mile as well, because if you're the first person into the lane, you can get to the one that's closest. If you're number 6, you have to go 3 deep and then run out 3 deep, which is 3 seconds or whatever. So,
Sure.
which it was cool. It was it was so different, because at these events you go to at a gym, you're not up against people normally. You may go the same time as somebody, and they might pair you with somebody of a kind of equal fitness level, but it's still not like the same. You're not really racing anybody. You're just trying to set a PR for your time. And then this was just like, it was cool. It was a very cool dynamic, but just
Competition.
yeah, it was so different. And I haven't looked back and done a breakdown of my times yet, but I'm pretty confident, just thinking about it, that I came out too hot on both the events. And that kind of screwed me on the air bike, because I just know when I get to the air bike, if I can't do it in a minute or less, that means I've probably, just where my fitness is right now, that means I've probably pushed too hard on the stations prior to that.
Interesting.
And, yeah. And so that's what happened on the strong. Well, besides I couldn't get one with a seat, but I think it was more just like, it took me 1 minute and 25 seconds. I haven't been that slow on the bike in a long time. And then for the mile, I was like 1 minute 20 probably. So, a little bit better pacing.
The speed hike makes a huge difference, because it's affecting how much power you can put in through your legs.
For sure. But I think I was also just I pushed a little too hard too early on. And so, if I had paced a little bit better, I was 6 seconds off the podium for the mile. So if I had paced a little bit better, that could have been the podium right there. So I'm not
there too, because you got to be able to make up 6 seconds on those runs.
Yeah.
So that's easy to make up for on a run, and harder in the higher intensity stuff.
Yeah. Either way, though, I think it was a really fun time, really fantastic. And to see all these different athletes from all over the country. I don't know about other countries, really. I mean, it was open to them, but I don't know how many people were from outside the U.S.
I don't think it's gotten big enough in other places yet, but hopefully in the next year or two,
I mean,
a lot more come in from around the world, or maybe it won't be in the U.S. I'm sure it will be, just because the vast majority of competition is here. But hopefully in Atlantic City next to not have to travel very far next year.
I know. I really hope so. I mean, it's still a drive, but it's better than the West Coast.
Way better. Yeah. That's not that bad a drive comparatively. Okay. So, I mean, I asked about the spectators because I was curious, because I saw a post from High Rocks that said in London there were like 6,000 spectators at the event. Like London's their huge one over the course of like the whole thing. Anyway, that's why I asked. I wanted to see if like there were a lot of spectators, but it's a new sport. It's the first championship. So it's not surprising if there aren't a ton at the first time. Okay. So, it was the age group ones. We had 3 athletes doing it as well. One got second in the world for the world championship in her age group. One PR'd on a bunch of stuff.
All 3,
yeah, all 3, because she did a team.
Yeah, she PR'd on the fit, the mile, and the strong. She also did team. I don't know if she had done that before.
Unless you had the same partner the whole time in all your teams, but that's awesome. So like the transition distances were obviously larger than at a box gym, especially because most of the gyms we do it at are small. So it's like you move 1 foot to the next event or the next. And here they were spaced out much more. You already mentioned like the number of people in the group, but how much time do you think you lost compared to like a box gym version in transition?
Well, I mean, I did want to, I guess we'll say, complain about that, because I feel like I'm actually looking up my times right now. I haven't even looked them up on the leaderboard. Let me see if I can find them. So, I would say something about that. But Ryan Kent set a massive PR. He
Yeah.
did it in 11 minutes and 10 seconds.
Isn't that a record?
Yeah, I mean, his previous best was 11:30. He cut off 22 seconds with them spaced out like that. So I'm not about to complain about it.
That's what competition does.
I know, I'm just saying, like, I'm not about to complain about it because clearly, you can still make it happen with all that considered.
Yeah, and even if you don't hit a PR, it's not like a world championship is not about PRing. It's about being the fastest at that event that day. Doesn't
Right.
matter if you set a world record or not, you still get the championship. So if everyone's dealing with moving this extra same distance, it wouldn't matter if you were 20 seconds slower if you're still the fastest.
Right. So, I mean, it was definitely spaced out more, but that doesn't mean you can't do well. So I'm looking now and I see my time was 13:46, which
For the strong,
yeah. So that's
super
that's
like
over
low for you.
over a minute slow. My PR is 12:38 or 6. I don't know. One of those two. So that's over a minute slower. Sure, we could. I mean, I talked to a lot of guys, and a lot of them were a little bit slower, but some people
Like
also set PRs. So,
Except for the top.
what's that?
I said it seemed like most people were slower except for the top, like the top elite racers.
Yeah. So, I mean, we can say, an extra 20 seconds for transition, but I'm still 40 seconds behind my PR. So,
You just didn't have a good race compared to normal.
yeah, I did not. And let's see if I can find
if you had a normal race, so like if you said 12:38 was your PR, so if 20 seconds additional transition time at 12:58, like if you hit your best, where would that have put you at the championship?
third place.
Yeah, it's crazy how that goes. It
Oh
sucks.
my goodness.
Yeah.
I haven't even looked at this yet.
Mile. See, I thought you were going to be much closer on the strong than you were on the mile. So that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's so interesting because like a lot of non-runners do the mile.
Mm-hmm.
It says I'm 5th for the mile as well. Yeah, a lot of non-runners do the mile. So when they think it's going to be like the strong, but then they don't realize how much running there is. And so when they start the running, they really crap out on it, even though they did so great at the strong. So
Right.
For the mile, my time was 20:26, and that's probably about 45 seconds slower than my PR time, or maybe 30 to 45, something like that. So I was a little bit slow there too, but
yep. Who knows? You're gonna have to redeem yourself next year, even though those are like pretty good. Wait, so you got 5th and 5th officially?
That's insane, but I got 4th in the mile. I'm 100% confident, unless who knows, maybe something happened with the timing chips or whatever. But the ranking right now is same 5th and 5th.
Yeah, whatever. Not a huge difference. It doesn't really matter if you're not on the podium or fighting for the podium.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
him,
So I mean, I feel a little bit disappointed because I was ranked the number 2 seed, number 2 for both events. So coming in 5th in both events, it's like, that's disappointing. But at the same time, like I talked to a couple guys who they weren't ranked as high as me, but that's from 2 months ago. And since then, they've been putting in a lot of work when they weren't training for it before. And so their time has drastically improved since then.
Right.
I've been making smaller improvements because I've been training for it more consistently. So either way, it's all good. But definitely gives me fired up for next year.
Yeah, next year. If I'm able to, yeah, I'm going to make it next year. I'm so glad I didn't try this year. Like I couldn't already technically, and then I really couldn't. So I'm really glad I didn't try and force the first couldn't.
Yeah, that would not have been ideal.
It's been real bad, but it's all right. All right. What I had another question. I'm trying to think of what it was. Transition time, placement. don't remember off the top of my head. Did you know many of the people that you competed with, the 12, for your age group in both of those?
A couple, but not really. No, I didn't know too many guys. Yeah, just a handful, really.
You're in the next age group though next year, right?
I know. I'm getting old.
You're in mine then.
Yep.
We're gonna. Oh, that'll be cool.
What did I say?
I'm going for the elite. So we'll see.
Oh, I'm definitely going for elite.
If you want to,
Definitely going for the elite.
I need to cut about a minute and a half off of both of my events to get the maybe almost 2 minutes to get the elite, but I'll get there. Let's see other questions. Oh yeah, so on the live feed for, I don't remember which, if it was the mile or the strong. I think it was the strong. Joy was doing it, and some guy went into the farmer's carries or the tank and got in and out super fast. And so they were saying on the video, it seemed like he only did 4 instead of 5. Yeah. Did you ever find out about that? I'm sure it was a mistake if he did do 4, because like no one would, like someone's going to catch you at that if you actually try to do it on purpose. And I don't think people are like that in this sport. But either way.
Yeah, so there was somebody watching who noticed that and said, "Oh, I think he only did 4," and he contested it with, I don't know, whoever the timekeeper person is, and they were just like, "Well, because it's not a judge who said it, we're not going to do anything about it."
They didn't have any recording. No one had a recording of him doing it.
They were not going to review it because it wasn't a judge who said it. Because you could have people from that.
You would be able to be their judge, because the other judges are paying attention to their athlete. There's no way they have enough, like they shouldn't be looking at any other athletes to even think about their times. They should only be looking at theirs. So it would have to be that specific judge for that person who said it. Yeah,
they asked that judge. I mean, what judge is going to be like, "Oh yeah, I only counted 4 and let him go"? Like, so they asked that judge, and the judge was like, "Yeah, he did 5." So that's that.
Okay. I mean, maybe he did. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting when it came up on the video.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair, because you can't just have people from the audience contesting like, "Oh, he only did 4. Well, let's check it back and review it." Like,
I mean, I think you can, but I
that
think
that could turn into a situation.
I think if it's a world championship, then you say, was he on the podium because of it or no?
He got 3rd, yeah.
Okay, and is there prize money?
No.
Okay, well, still, like, if you're gonna, whatever. I think at the very least they should have like a camera that sees the whole zone, where you could go back and look at the zone.
Yeah. Yeah, they did have a camera.
Well, then that's a 10-minute job to review and be like, okay, he did or didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I know how Spartan brands do their officiating. They don't like to go in and look again. Hopefully it was accurate. That's fine. I just think it'd be way too easy to review it, but whatever. If it were my event, I would want it reviewed if I had the camera technology for it. All good.
Yeah. It was cool, though, to see all the different age groups going, and people like, the age groups, they made it very close to just as significant as the elite. It wasn't live streamed, and they didn't have quite as, everybody had their name called up and everything. It wasn't like made as big a deal, but with the spectators and everybody like screaming at their people and stuff, it made it like really cool, because every single person who went there to compete had to qualify, which made it significant for them. And then you could tell like everybody was nervous.
Yeah.
Going into it. It was significant for
world champion being the best at your age, in your age bracket. It's still meaningful.
Yeah. And it was just cool to see like every single person was there, like just nervous and anxious about what's about to happen. And that was cool, because that showed it was significant for everybody, and not just like, it was just about the elites and then, okay, there goes age group. You know what I mean? So, and they had age groups. I think it went all the way up to 65 plus.
Mhm.
I saw the men, and there were these shredded dudes, just like these old dudes with like so much muscle, just lean, shredded muscle, and they were crushing the stations and stuff. Like that is so cool that you can be in that age. I mean, I don't think they filled up the heats. You know, it was probably like 5 instead of the 12, but I mean, that's still cool to like at that age be putting in the work to qualify and then show up and then, you know, earn a podium.
Yeah, that's awesome. Before this video gets too long, I'm going to ask a few more questions and answer them quickly so we don't bore people to death. How nervous were you before the events compared to a normal race of any kind, normal Deka, normal OCR, or whatever?
I don't know. I didn't feel as nervous as I thought I would, honestly, but I think that's just because there was so much going on. Like I didn't have time to just sit and think, you know. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't feel as nervous as I thought I would, but I did get dry mouth, which that used to be an issue when I did events, but just from doing so many events, that kind of went away. But this time it came back, and that's how I knew I was a little bit more nervous than normal.
Okay. Now that you've done, I don't know how many Deka events, but many, many, many at this point, and a championship, what is the most important zone or biggest thing you need to work on? Most important thing
Air bike.
still?
Yeah, I mean, there's 30 seconds. I mean, my average is around a minute. If I'm a minute or less, yeah, I can cut off about 30 seconds there, and then you know everything else is going to be maybe 5 to 10 seconds. You know, get the 5 seconds on the rower, maybe even 5 to 10 seconds on the skier, probably 5 to 10 seconds on the sled, something like that. But the air bike, I've got a good 30 seconds to cut off.
Fair enough. For our Trio Fitness training athletes who went, like, did they have the same experience you did as it being like this awesome, super cool event thing and everything? Did everyone seem like they enjoyed it? So it'll be, bigger, better, and more people next year?
Yeah, everybody had a great time, and it was cool. You know, all the athletes had a good experience.
Good.
And it was their own different experience, and they all succeeded in their own ways. And that's, again, the cool thing about it. Like, these are all very different people. It's not just the elite athletes who are trying to win. It is people with all these different backgrounds, all these different age groups, and they've got their own purpose and goal for being there, and they've gone through their own experience of getting there, and then their success story is different compared to other people. Everybody kind of had their own success story, so it was really cool.
All right, last question, and then we'll cut this video out. What is a successful time? Like, okay, so let's say you're at the end of 2023 now, and you've PR'd your Deka mile and Deka strong. What times did you hit? What times are you aiming for in the next year?
For the Deka strong, at least under 11:30, and then for the Deka mile, under 18:30.
Cool. Well, now it's on camera, so we'll see if you get there by the end of next year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm putting in the work, man. That fired me up. Like, I don't want to be an age group. I think it's great, but that's not what my goal is. I think it's great for everybody else if that's what you want, but it's not what my goal is. And, I didn't like getting 5th place either. Did not like it. It's cool. I'm not mad about it, but I'm not content.
If you think you can achieve more and you can, then you have to.
But man, I'm going to elite and on the better half of the elite for next year.
That's where I want to be too. We'll see what happens. That'd be awesome. It'd be a lot of fun.
It'll be a lot of fun.
All right. Well, that's it. We won't keep this going anymore. So like I mentioned at the start, Luke and 3 of our athletes went. They all did very good jobs. I would say I didn't think about how they were going to do in advance, like, oh, I think they'll place here or they'll achieve this. But I'd say no matter what expectations were like exceeded because the competition level there was very high. It was people from all over the country who've been competing, some of them for many years, some of them for less years, and yet they all did super, super well. So if you need coaching for events like Deka or Camp Gladiator Games, of which Luke is a first place team champion, or like High Rocks or anything like that.
2 years team champion.
Years. Yeah, one was virtual, right?
Yeah,
so
for COVID.
It's still good. Yeah. So we have programming, triofitnesstraining.com/hybrid, and you can sign up. And it'd be even cooler if you live in North Carolina because we'd see you a lot at events and stuff. But anyway, good stuff. Awesome times. Good work. Let's go out and do better this year.
Heck yeah. See you guys later.
Cool. See ya.